Hello folks and welcome to Hi-Fi News etc. And what have we got for you this time around? Well, we have a trivia question which I'll give you in a sec. Then we have Hi-Fi News and I've got 1, 2, 4 items for you. After that we've got a sort of extended Any Other Business. And in Any Other Business I've got a couple of extra bonus trivia questions for you. So watch out for those. I also have some advanced vinyl cleaning technology to show you. And I'm sure you'll be very pleased with that. So that's in Any Other Business. And then we'll finish with the answer to this trivia question. And the theme for this week's trivia question is London. And the question is, was Ichiku Park inspired solely by the amount of substance the Small Faces had been smoking in 1967, or is it based on an actual London location? Once more, was Ichiku Park inspired solely by certain smoking substances the Small Faces had been smoking in 1967, or is it based on an actual London location? As ever, please don't Google or use any internet research for this one, please, because it just ruins the whole thing. Have a little think during this video, and at the end of this video, I will give you the answer. Next up is Hi-Fi News. First up, we have a couple of earphones from Yamaha. These are called the TWE3As. Now, according to Yamaha, if you're using earphones, when the listening volume is low, the sound pressure is also low, which means that high pressure is required at both the low and high frequencies using high gain. So, you up your volume, you get high pressure in your ears. Yamaha has said that this has now changed with its new earphone design and its YPAO volume technology. So adjustments are made adaptive to the volume level for fine-tuning and balance even in low volume settings, eliminating the need to turn the music louder to hear all high and lower frequencies. Now, reading between the lines, I think this tech, well, I think it sounds similar to the loudness control you might find on a hi-fi amp, but I have yet to actually test this software myself. If you have, let me know what you think of it. I'd be intrigued to hear. In terms of the earphones, well, apparently you're looking at a 2-hour charge for all day use, while these earphones have an IPX5 water resistance rating. Price for these things? £89. Next up, we have some Raidho floor standers. These new floor standers are called X2Ts, and the X for Extreme, of course. What else could they be? This is a floor standing design with two 5¼ ceramic base drivers that sport a tantalum coating. And tantalum, as I'm sure you well know, is a metal that is resistant to heat and wear. It's also pretty darn hard, but remains light in weight. The tweeter is a ribbon type, well, actually a planar magnetic, designed and built in Denmark, and also offering a mass that's 50 times less than your typical dome design. Now, the X2Ts come from the earlier X2s, and when you compare the two, well, the crossover has been enhanced between the two, and that features improved components with point-to-point wiring. There's also Nordost cabling on the crossover, while the entire loudspeaker has also been retuned. Oh, and there's a bass port in the rear. Offering an 87 decibel sensitivity, you need an amplifier of around 50 watts plus to get these speakers going. The X2Ts span 300mm by 1065 by 490mm, and they weigh in at 23 kilograms each. Next up, a phono amplifier from Italy from Goldnote. This one is the PH1000 Lite. Now, top of the line in phono amp terms over at Goldnote is the PH1000. Now joining that design is the PH1000 Lite, as I say, and the Lite offers 3 independent inputs, 2 unbalanced RCA pairs and 1 balanced XLR. You can also select from one of 18 EQ curves, plus tweaks, which makes around 36 in all. In addition to that, you also get a high pass filter, and the gain options include 40 decibels moving magnet to 60 decibels moving coil. There's also a mono switch if you need that, and a headphone output too. Price is €6,500. And as I say, that's for the Lite. The original, more expensive model, that is €10,900. And in case you're wondering about the difference, well, the more expensive unit adds endless adjustable EQ curves you can tweak to your heart's content. You also get external loading options in both the RCA and XLR ports. There's a Class A preamp stage and all that kind of stuff. So the Lite version here, well, that offers the basic functionality, but without many of the bells and whistles. Finally, in the hi-fi news section, something a bit AV from Marantz. And what I have here are 2 boxes, the AV10 preamp and processor, plus the AMP10 16-channel amplifier. The Marantz AV10 is a 15.4 channel 8K AV preamp processor, and its feature list is as long as your arm. Here's a few highlights. It includes current feedback amplification to lower noise and increase sound quality. Dolby Atmos is supported, alongside others like DTS-X, IMAX Enhanced. You get HEOS built in to stream music wirelessly from a variety of streaming services. There are 7 HDMI inputs, all 8K, plus digital, analog and phono inputs, as well as loudspeaker and preamp outputs. As for the AMP10, well, that features HDAM SA2 technology and newly developed Class D amplification that's rated at 200 watts into 8 ohms over 16 channels. And those channels can be operated independently. Channel pairs can also be switched into bi-amp mode. Prices, well, I've got a whole heap of prices. The AV10 in dollars, we're looking at $7,000 or €7,000 or £6,000, while the AMP10 is exactly the same, $7,000, €7,000 and £6,000. That's your hi-fi news. Any other business? This this week in Any Other Business? Well, I want to tell you about some vinyl. I've just bought 4 compilation albums, in fact, dating either from the late 60s through to the early 70s, and they're all focused on the Ireland label. Now, in case you don't know, it was Chris Blackwell that helped launch Island Records over in Jamaica in 1959, and later on it moved to Kilburn in London. And I have this book, which is all about Chris Blackwell, and I haven't read it yet. If you have, though, can you tell me if it's any good? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about this book. The label itself was legendary. Its first hit was Millie Small's My Boy Lollipop. Remember that one? It launched some of the most influential artists around, including Bob Marley, U2, Grace Jones, Cat Stevens, and more. Ireland included acts like Fairport Convention, Jethro Tull, Free, Roxy Music, King Crimson, Traffic, Sparks, and a whole host of other acts. It also issued excellent compilation albums. So what I have here is one of those compilation albums called Nice Enough to Eat, which mixes the genres but includes bands like Mott the Hoople, Jethro Tull, Traffic, King Crimson, and lesser names like Heavy Jelly and Dr. Strangely Strange. Then there's this one called Bumpers, a double album this time, and from 1970, including Dave Mason, Cat Stevens, Fairport Convention, Nick Drake, Jimmy Cliff, and lesser names, you might say, like Clouds, If, and Bronco. This third compilation is part of my bonus trivia for you. It's called You Can All Join In, and it features a host of famous names and famous faces. All of these people here, they are all acts belonging to, at the time, the Island label. And some of these faces, well, they may require a second look if you want to recognize them. And I want you to name as many as you can. I'm going to put this sleeve on screen for you now, and I want you to study them. By all means, pause the video and have a good look. Some of them will require, as I say, a second look to recognize. And later on, I will give you a full rundown of who's present on this sleeve. Now, I have 2 specific questions about this sleeve. Somewhere on this sleeve is, shock horror, a girl. What I want to know is, who is she? What's her name? Lastly, the last trivia question is, there are 2 people on this sleeve that have exactly the same name. Well, I say exactly. One of the guys has inserted the first letter of his middle name, just to differentiate himself from the other chap. But even so, essentially, they are exactly the same. So, again, what is that name? I'll put the answer at the end of this video. But there is a 4th compilation, and that's where the vinyl cleaning technology springs into life. And it's very sweet, I have to say. And this is the reason, basically, I'm doing this spot at all, to be honest. This album is called LP. The punning humour. And there is the actual P in all its green loveliness. This is another double album, and this one emerged in 1971. It includes famed artists like Traffic, Mountain, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Free, but also intriguing artists like Mike Herron, Amazing Blondell, Head, Hands and Feet, Quintessence, and many more. However, what I love about this release is the self-cleaning technology installed for the benefit of the included vinyl. That is, there is a piece of high-tech foam stuck on the end, just here. The idea being that you remove and later insert your vinyl into the sleeve and your vinyl is swept clean. Isn't that nice? Rather sweet, as I say. Not as sweet as the P on the front, I'm sure, but hey, I thought it was kind of lovely. Now, before we move on to the answer for the main trivia question, let's address the trivia extra on the sleeve of You Can All Join In. First up, there is a girl on this cover. So first up, where is she? Well, she's just sneaked onto the end here. And it is the very famous Sandy Denny, who was the lead singer for the band Fairport Convention, but also she had a rather successful solo career. And of course, she died way too young. As for the two guys with the same name, well, that name is Ian Anderson. Now, you may be familiar with the lead singer of Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson, and he is, well, he's right at the back here, grinning away is our Ian. The other Ian Anderson you might not be too familiar with. He is actually this guy. When you look at this photo as a whole, he really stands out. I don't know about you, but if you look at this picture, he sort of stands out from the entire crowd. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he's very tall, but I don't know. There's just something about this guy. He kind of stands out. Anyway, Ian Anderson was a folkie, a blues singer, and he also helped to form the label The Village Thing. That particular label, it released, I don't know, a couple of dozen LPs from people like Whiz Jones, Steve Tilston, people like that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those artists. Kind of folky. Whiz Jones, an amazing guitarist, if you don't already know. Anyway, fortunately, both Ians are still with us. So before I go, let's give you the answer to the main trivia question. And to repeat, was Itchy-Coo Park, that well-known hit single, inspired solely by the amount of substance that the band The Small Faces had been smoking in 1967, or is it based on an actual London location? And the answer is, well, there's really one simple literal explanation behind a song. Itchy-Coo Park as a concept may propose a kind of a demi-paradise where one can blow one's mind while also feeding the ducks with a bun, but it was said to be inspired by a place in Manor Park, East London, close to where the band had all grown up, a place that was known for its stinging nettles. It also owed something to the Small Faces' habit at the time of describing anything they didn't like as icky boo. There may have also been a subliminal element. They may not have been aware that the park alongside Christchurch, Spitalfields, had long been known as Itchy Park, in reference to the down and outs who slept there. The American writer Jack London wrote about his visit there in his 1903 book, The People of the Abyss. So now you know. Kinda. One of my most long-winded trivia answers ever. Anyway, thank you for staying with me to the end of this video, because that's your lot. If I could ask you down below if you could click on the like and subscribe buttons, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Also, if you could check out my Patreon page, please, because that supports this channel. It funds this channel, but I do provide a whole host of limited edition rarities, I suppose you'd call them. They are only available on Patreon. There's all kinds of hi-fi tour stuff, videos, buyer's guides, features, music stuff, all kinds of odds and ends. Anyway, check it out. Down below in the description, there are links to my Facebook group, which you're welcome to join. And in addition to that, my website, which has all kinds of stuff you won't find over here. I will be back on Sunday with a review. And it'll be a review of a company I haven't reviewed in many, many years. Mainly because of stock problems. Yeah, that's the reason. But anyway, we've got some now, so I can do the review. Have a little look on Sunday, and I hope to see you then. Hope to have your company. And until then, folks, bye-bye for now.